Well, folks, no Starlink for South Africa. We know South Africa's racist laws would prevent the investment by Starlink into South Africa, bringing much needed remote, high-speed internet access to communities that are not serviced by South Africa's telecoms communications industry. But unfortunately, South Africans will not get it, despite the fact that many other countries around the world have access to Starlink. And this raises questions about South Africa, about Ramaphosa's claims that countries will flock to South Africa because they're investing 1 trillion rand in infrastructure. I'd like to see where that money is coming from. But today, the 13th of May, 2026, the Independent Communications Authority of South Africa, ICASA, has stated that it would not consider changing regulations on broad-based economic empowerment ownership requirements for telecoms licenses until the law is amended. So that's not going to happen anytime soon. The statement was issued today. The sector regulator repelled any attempts by the communication minister, Salim Malatsi, to introduce equity equivalent investment programs. In other words, something that would allow Starlink to put their money elsewhere rather than handing equity over to undeserved black economic caters who are connected to the government. The Electronic Communications Act, ECA, requires licensees to be 30% owned by historically disadvantaged groups. Now, those historically disadvantaged groups are classified as pretty much anybody as long as you're not white. Black people, women, so white women, youth, I guess white youth, but they don't really count. People with disabilities. Black is defined as black Africans, Indians, and coloreds. Of course, in practice, we all know that that's just poppycock. BE almost never benefits Indians or coloreds. It's just lies used to paper over the fact that it's okay to get even with whitey, even though most whitey had nothing to do with apartheid. But the racist revenge, the horrible bigotry against white South Africans that's exhibited by the government of South Africa is vomit-inducing. The authority remains committed to advancing transformation, empowerment, and economic inclusion within the telecoms sector and all other sectors it regulates, said ICASA. But how are you advancing economic inclusion by excluding parts of the population? And in effect, excluding most of the population, because we all know that BE is not to enrich historically disadvantaged persons. It's to enrich caters and connected corrupt cronies of the African National Congress. Now, as of May of this year, Starlink is available in over 150 territories worldwide, all of which rely on the same business model. Where countries had local ownership requirements, SpaceX had negotiated alternatives, but not in South Africa. No, not in South Africa. You must give your hard-earned equity, your billions of dollars you've raised and invested and created, and the unique service that you provide that cannot be provided by South Africa. You must give it to someone who's black. Why? Well, because that's the law. In South Africa, Starlink had proposed meeting this transformation obligation through the EEIPs. They were going to connect 5,000 rural schools with free internet. That's 500 million rand of value for free. But no, we must give it to the friends and partners and allies of the corrupt African National Congress and the corrupt Government of National Unity. We can't make an investment otherwise. To be honest here, this isn't just about Starlink. This is also about the ANC's attacks on President Trump and on the United States. You see, opposition or support for Starlink has in many ways become a signal for ideological leanings one way or the other in support of Elon Musk, because Musk was a heavy supporter of Trump for his election campaign. Now, interestingly enough, Cyril Ramaphosa comically defends the undefendable by making the following statement. Our laws are not racist. They are empowerment laws meant to uplift people who are discriminated against. Except that's a lie. Over 60% of the population of South Africa never experienced that oppression. So unless these contracts specifically go to someone that's over the age of 40 or older, then you know it's a complete lie. Just because you're black and you're born in 2000 doesn't mean you're discriminated against. However, if you're white and you're born after 1994, you've clearly been discriminated against, or colored or Indian. This is nauseating. It's vomit-inducing. It's nothing but pure racism instituted in law. More racist laws that prevent minority South Africans from advancing or even getting government contracts or bursaries to go to university or education opportunities simply because of the color of their skin. This is racial hatred and racial revenge implemented at the national level. At least under the National Party, the racism, the segregation wasn't driven by hatred of blacks. It was driven by an effort for separate development by different communities. But this is racial revenge, nothing but racial revenge. And the world sits by and allows it to happen. Only one global leader has even addressed this, Donald John Trump, for which he's been pillared and mocked by Cyril Ramaphosa, a man facing impeachment for money laundering, embezzlement, perversion of the means of justice, torture, kidnapping. A man also facing multiple lawsuits for supporting the murder of U.S. service members in Iraq and Afghanistan in his investment in MTN and his role as a director when they supported terrorists through Iran cell, according to 5 lawsuits, which are currently underway in the United States. And this is the country that we're supposed to take seriously. A government that has betrayed the liberation struggle in its pursuit of racial revenge and pilfering of all the assets of South Africa, distorting history, lying about what's happened in this country. But there you have it, folks. No Starlink for you. South African rural schools will continue to suffer. No toilets, no electricity, no internet. While the ANC continues to steal money and the government national unity continues to enable the ANC in their desperate desire for ministerial positions and larger paychecks. What say you, South Africa? Zanzi. Cheers.